There's this little boy born in this little town. You could call it any little town USA. Just this tiny little town had one filling station and a Dairy Queen. I mean, it was just a little tiny little town. And this boy, sweet, nice, friendly, everybody loved him. From the time he was a toddler, he just was gregarious. Everybody loved him. But he had an unusual abnormality, as some folks do. His was definitely strange, though. He had no rear end. He just kind of went from back to legs. I mean, all the parts were there, but he just had no bottom. Well, everybody told his folks that, as he grew older, he'd grow a butt, right? But that didn't happen. As he got 4, 5, 6, he just had no hips at all. His pants was always falling down, and it was a mess, but it didn't bother him. In fact, he liked it because everyone in the town knew who he was, and they liked him. Everybody liked him. And his name, just ironically, his name, before they even knew he didn't have a butt, was Tiny. And so, of course, first grade comes, and the very first thing that, within one day, everyone in the whole school is calling him Tiny Hiny. But he loved it. He thought it was great. Well, on the first day of school, Tiny Hiny met a little boy named Art. And Art was also different. Art was an Eskimo midget. And he was the only Eskimo midget that I have ever heard of or known. I'm sure there's others out there, but he was certainly the only one that anybody in this town had ever seen. But the thing about Art was he was just brilliant. I mean, even at 6 years old, he was just brilliant. And he immediately, just immediately, Tiny Hiny and Art got together. And because Art was so incredibly intelligent, I mean, he just was. And all the kids knew it and looked up to him for it. Well, they immediately started calling him Smarty Arty. And so it was Tiny Hiny and Smarty Arty, and they were like two fingers in the same glove. They went everywhere together. You didn't see one without the other. And I mean all the way through school. All the way through school. They were just like this. Well, Smarty Arty in 4th, 5th, 6th grade started selling help to other kids. Probably cheating, I don't know, but he'd take $1 and he would tell them the answers to tests, stuff like that. And he was a tight-wad little dude. I mean, every penny he saved. And he told Tiny Hiny from way back, he said, you just stick with me and we'll be okay. I've got a plan. So Tiny Hiny didn't think much of it, but he went along with it. They graduated. And it was, they'd had just a wonderful time in school, and just everybody in town knew him and loved him. Right after the graduation, Smarty Arty got Tiny Hiny and said, hey, come here. They got off somewhere, and he said, I told you I'd take care of you. Stick with me. So I got something I want to show you. So he went out and they walked down the road, and there was an old worm barn where a guy had a worm business down at the end of the street. And it had been out of business for years. And Smarty Arty had bought it with the money that he made selling answers to tests and stuff. Took Tiny Hiny in and told him, this is our new restaurant. Well, we've got a restaurant now. And as he explained, and quickly it come to pass as they put it together, this restaurant only sold one thing. It was such a novel idea. It only sold these tiny little hot dogs that were about this big. just little bitty. And they used Vienna sausages for the weenies in them. Oh, they were cute. And you could get them about 40 or 50 different ways. You could get them with sauerkraut. You could get them with barbecue. I mean, just, there was a whole long menu of stuff. And they were all a quarter apiece. So you could go in there for $1.50 and have your fill of it. And he named the place Teeny Weenies. Well, within a few weeks, nobody was going to Dairy Queen anymore. Everybody was going to Teeny Weenies. And Smarty Arty and Tiny Hiny was running around taking care of them, and it was just an absolute success story that just blossomed. I mean, and Smarty Arty knew it would. He was very intelligent, and he had a good idea. And it just blossomed, and people were coming in from other towns to eat there. And it was so cute. Everything in there was small. They had these little bitty tables that you could just barely set a couple of people around, and little chairs, and their little ketchup and mustard bottles weren't no bigger than your thumb. Just little bitty, everything was little. It was just cute, and everybody loved it. It was phenomenal. Well, they did great. I mean, immediately, they did great. They were bringing in, it was phenomenal. Within a month, the surrounding town people started coming in and saying, we want a Teeny Weenies in our town. And Smarty Arty, being the brains of the bunch, had already figured it out. So fine, $10,000. You open up your own, you're my franchise, and boom. Within weeks, there was Teeny Weenies sprouting up all over the place. I mean, just all over. It was just geometric as it moved out. Soon, he started getting calls from Japan and Korea and Afghanistan and just the least likely places you'd think that would do this, wanting franchises there. I mean, there's McDonald's and all those places, but Teeny Weenies, and within a year, Smarty Arty and Tiny Hiny had to open up a second Teeny Weenies at the other end of town, and the town wasn't but about 400, 500, 600 yards long. It was you could walk it in 2 minutes. And so when you come into town, you'd see the first Teeny Weenies, and you have a big old neon sign, pink, big bright neon sign that said Teeny Weenies over the little building. Took up the whole building, and it just flashed, Teeny Weenies, Teeny Weenies. Smarty Arty bought him a great big pink, Smarty Arty liked pink. I don't know what the deal was. But Smarty Arty bought him a great big pink Cadillac. And it's funny, if he wanted to just turn the thing around, he had to go all the way down out of town and loop around to come back. But, it was a prestige thing. But within a year, these two oddballs, these two misfits, had created one of the neatest, coolest things that this planet has seen in the way of commercialism and fast food and just everything, just success. It was amazing. Now, my grandpa had a saying. He said, I said all that to say this. Said that a lot. Well, I said all that to say this. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think you look like or what abnormalities you might have. If you just do what Teeny Weeny and Smarty Arty did, use their intelligence, use their assets. I said Teeny Weeny, I meant Tiny Hiny. Tiny Hiny was nice and friendly, and everybody loved him. Smarty Arty was a genius. All of their little, abnormalities just faded away. So I don't care who you are, you can be anything you want to be. And that's my story of Smarty Arty and Tiny Hiny and their amazing adventures at Teeny Weenies.